for all of you who you had your auntie's credit card and you got your Netflix account and your password, and now the whole neighborhood's got your password. Well, that some of that might be coming to an end.
My dad was like, "Yeah, I'm watching, Paramount Plus now." Like, okay,
Oh.
wow. So like that's a new service, pops. So welcome.
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome once again to Show versus Business, your weekly podcast from two different perspectives. I'm your host, Theo. On the line, I have the man himself, Mr. Benja. What is up?
What's going on, man? We are still here, and now we're expanding. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. So, well, yeah, 1 year after the pandemic, we're running hard beginning since the beginning of this year. But let's get into it. So, I think we have an exciting podcast today. We actually have we're going to speak with Marcus Esports Howard. He has experience in the blockchain, and we've been talking about NFT lately. So he'll talk a little bit about the history of crypto and the blockchain and where we are today. And then we'll finally finish up the podcast today on Marvel's latest TV show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we'll get into all that pretty quickly here. So before we're just going to skip the banter today. We're going to get straight into the interview with Mr. Marcus Howard here today. So I've known Marcus for several years now. He's definitely been involved here in a lot of the esports arena here in the Florida area, but also in the blockchain and crypto. Is really have a big influencer in that space right now. So Marcus, how are you doing today?
Great, man. Thank you both for the introduction and the opportunity to be on this podcast and talk about blockchain, crypto, and NFTs.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'll kick it off, man, real quick. So look, blockchain has been crypto's been here for a while. So I know you were kind of in this space in the early days back in 2013. So tell me a little bit about, where you saw it was in 2013 and then how it's evolved in that craze, the ICO craze, 2016, 2018 until now. So if you talk a little bit about that, that would be great to kind of give everyone a level set and context of what's happening.
Sure. So technically, blockchain is actually 12 years old. The white paper was published on October 31st in 2008, and it actually launched, ironically, on my birthday, January 3rd in 2009, like the first blockchain Bitcoin, the first block of Bitcoin the network launched in 2009. And for the first few years, it was really mostly people mining it and then spending it on a kind of a dark website called the Silk Road. You could buy like drugs there. You could buy a bunch of stuff that's not legal, right? So I knew it was happening there, and I stayed away from that because I didn't need any trouble with the law. And in roughly 2013, I saw that it was starting to increase in value as a digital currency. So I talked to my brother. I said, we got to get into this space because we're gamers. We understand digital currency, and so we bought half a Bitcoin in like November, December 2013. Long story short, I tripled my investment over 2 to 3 weeks, but then lost it from basically the crypto's version of bank fees because I was in a coin that was no longer supported. And so I lost the money. I didn't want to put any more time into it because, as you know, I had my full-time job. I still have my full-time job. Roughly 2016, 2017, 2018 was this large ICO craze, initial coin offerings. Basically like a company going on public on the stock market, IPO, but with launching their own coin to fund their network and their software. So at that point, you saw the price of Bitcoin kind of skyrocket because now people who had been mining the coin for years had something to do with it. Before, you either just mined it and bought it and sold it, but outside of that, there was nothing you could do with crypto, Bitcoin, Litecoin, whatever, Ethereum. In 2016, 2017, 2018, now you can invest in a company, right? Be a part of ownership by getting a coin. So you saw the price go up. 2018, there was the crash. It went from like 20 grand down to 6 grand. And now here today, the last 3 or 4 months, we've seen that kind of resurgence through NFTs because now people who have been mining and trading for 12 years have something they can do. I don't want to call it legitimate, but something they can do tangible with these cryptocurrencies they've been mining and buying for the last decade.
No, I agree, 100%. And this is some interesting space. I mean, like you, I kind of dabbled in it back in 2016 myself. Saw the excitement. Was excited when it went to 20K, but then when it went down to 8,000, I said, "Let me get out of this shit." It doesn't seem like it's working for me. So it's definitely something where we are today when it comes to NFTs. So, Ben, I don't know. What are your thoughts on the NFT market right now?
So I'm really curious about this. There's so much happening that people aren't seeing. People, general are just seeing, Beeple sells, an NFT work of art, 69 million, and everyone's going nuts. Um, so we've got we've got blockchain, the technology, then cryptocurrency, a specific application of the technology comes out of that. Now NFTs are uh, an application of the cryptocurrency. So where does where do people get the concept wrong about these NFTs? Where's the confusion coming around at? Because a lot of people just they get it, but they don't get it. Where's the confusion?
Great question. Great question. I think the confusion is around how do you create one or what does it represent? And if you're familiar with Ethereum, it's a very popular cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. We'll just use Bitcoin for example. What people are basically doing is taking a Bitcoin and they're bonding it and they're minting it together with a piece of digital media. It could be a song, it could be a piece of digital art, as we've seen with people. It could be a video, as we've seen with NBA Top Shot. And because they've minted it, turned it into an NFT, instead of it being like typically one Bitcoin is indistinguishable from another Bitcoin. But when you turn it into an NFT, you give it rarity, you give it uniqueness. And then because of that, we as a society, we value things that have limited supply. Money is all really a social construct, right? So, the U.S. dollar has been backed by gold or silver, or it dropped the gold standard in 1971. So it's the full faith and support of the U.S. government, which is just the society saying we trust money. So I think as people start to have that same trust for digital money, you see the same type of draw to limited availability digital art as you see with physical art. That's why Banksy's sell for, ungodly amounts of money and the Mona Lisa is expensive. That same concept is happening in NFTs.
Okay, so with NFTs are hot right now. Beeple has his pieces out there. NBA Top Shot, as you mentioned, I went and stood in line and got my pack. I was happy about that. What happens to these? What happens to these NFT items if, let's say, um, people stop worrying about Ethereum and go to the Dogecoin or whatever? Does the underlying bonded cryptocurrency matter to the NFT?
I think it doesn't. I think that it's ultimately the functionality of combining a crypto to an asset that creates an NFT. But in theory, part of the combination, that unique characteristic, is the crypto is attached to. So if you have your NBA Top Shots, some extension of Ethereum, if someone turned around and did that same thing on Dogecoin, part of the digital receipt, right, the audit trail would say that yours is on Dogecoin and not on Ethereum. Now it's up to people to decide if they care whether or not it was on Ethereum versus Dogecoin, but conceptually, it's the same thing.
All right. Okay, so it might just be a non-issue, but it's just depending on the people as usual. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Because it's one thing I've just been wondering about, along with not just the actual asset itself, but with crypto, everyone's talking about the decentralization of it. Um, but now you have a product like the NBA Top Shot moments. With these moments, they're tied to the NBA and how the NBA uses them. Do I really own it, or is it just something that the NBA is using? Um, I don't know where that digital ownership split ends and where it begins. I mean, if I can only access it via NBA, then it's kind of still centralized with the NBA, right?
It is. NBA Top Shot's kind of a unique monster because they have built their own wrapper on top of Ethereum. They extended Ethereum or the functionality of Ethereum to create what's called Flow. Because if you're familiar with CryptoKitties, it's one of the biggest application of Ethereum. It actually almost brought down the Ethereum network because it was so many transactions going through. It made like the price to do things, just like you have a transaction fee on credit card payments. The price was getting to be like $100 to get a $3 apple, just as an example, right? So they created their own layer so they could separate from Ethereum and then try to keep that cost down and that processing time down. But the first version isn't really decentralized, to your point. You can only legitimately get them from NBA Top Shot, and you really can't get them out of NBA Top Shot right now, which is not really pure decentralized. Hopefully in the future they'll have that, but right now, no. It's really more centralized than it is decentralized.
Well, can I ask a question about that? Then, what makes it valuable, right? Is it the underlining image itself? Like I mentioned to Ben, what if you get a highlight of like Stephen Curry as a rookie or something like that? So if you're saying it's not centralized, right? And so that's really a core component of crypto. What does that mean? So does the image itself, is that what makes it valuable, and the ownership rights, tracking that ownership rights throughout the lifetime of that highlight? Can you break that down? Like what was driving value to this? Obviously we may be in a bubble, but what's really driving that value of that highlight from Top Shot?
But I forgot to answer one of Benja's questions, so I'm going to cycle back over to yours very quickly. But first, so you don't own the media that's attached to it. The media is being used to create this new item, which is a composite of the crypto and the media. And that new item you have ownership of. You don't have ownership of the video clip that's used to create it. That's just kind of a raw material that creates this new object, and you own that new object. So that, to answer your question, you don't own the media. I think the reason it has value is a number of things. One, because people are familiar with the physical trading card industry, right? And those are just really pieces of cardboard, right? But it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I think a $6 billion industry. I might have that number wrong. So it's in part valuable because of traditional trading cards. It's also valuable because it's also crypto. So it's crypto in the same way that now one Bitcoin is worth $60,000. A part of that, to a greater or lesser degree, filters down to all cryptocurrencies. So because this is crypto, it imbues some of that value. And then beyond that, it has value because it's limited, the same way that, again, regular art is limited. The Mona Lisa is valuable. It's just paint on a surface, yet it's worth, I don't know, at least $100 million, I would assume.
All right. Okay, so I like this because me being in the art space, we're just kind of used to random things we don't understand all of a sudden becoming, the hot shit for the next, 2 months or 2 days or whatever. But yeah, as you said, the idea and what it is in people's minds is really taking hold because now people are destroying their physical paintings and saying that, hey, it only exists as this NFT, that's been minted. And people are like, wait, does that make any sense? I don't know, but I want to buy that NFT now. So it's comedy to me. I love it. I love it.
That is interesting. I don't know if I agree with them destroying it, but I understand they have to in order to maximize the legitimacy of this new NFT. The thing that it physically represents has to no longer exist.
Yeah, this actually Picasso actually did a few pieces way back in the day. He came right after the photography period, and one of the things about him doing the wild and crazy art was that you don't need to do anything representational anymore because you have photography. So he actually created some paintings, and the painting was created on film, and then he destroyed the painting and said, well, now the only copy we have of this painting is on film. And he sold these little short movies basically. So this idea isn't necessarily new, but it's just so interesting to me to see it happening in digital space, and in a space that was created off of like crypto kitties, as you say. I actually lost one of my crypto kitties back in the day. I didn't know what I was doing. Bought a crypto kitty and lost my wallet and everything. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I think we all got stories of lost wallets and missing crypto. I mean, it's kind of funny, this new environment. But so one thing you brought up, I like how you segued. You said, okay, basically this is valuable because intrinsically you have the industry as a whole. People are used to trading, cards and cardboard, right, with sports images on it. So the industry then is tied to the Bitcoin. So there's, understanding of this crypto, there's value there, that stored value. And then you said that because it's a limited image, right? The art is limited. And so so all these are driving up these NFT prices and making people, appreciate it more. So as we think about this, where this could go, I mean, I kind of want to take a step back a little bit. One of the things that's starting to be a push against Bitcoin is the effect on the environment, right? I think Bill Gates is one of the opponents of it, right? He's saying that all this mining that we're doing to kind of generate crypto is affecting the environment adversely. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, as more of these data centers are being built out, these miners are using better and better chips to kind of create these complex computations. Any thoughts on how this could play out over the next 5 to 10 years?
He made a great point. He's not wrong. I think this was years ago. Again, I haven't been as heavy in the blockchain since I got into esports. Became Marcus Esports Howard versus Marcus Blockchain Howard. But even then, I believe like all of the amount of computational energy being spent on the blockchain network was like equal to Denmark's output. And it just continues to scale because there's something called the happening that happens in at least Bitcoin. And I don't know to what degree it's being shared across other coins because the blockchain code that makes Bitcoin work is open source. So the way that we have these other coins, people basically, just like with any open source code, you can fork the code and create your own base and make changes to it. So that functionality of processing transactions and using electricity is shared across probably thousands of coins. That being said, people have started to recognize that same issue, and they're now using different types of ways to validate transactions on a network. So what Bitcoin does right now is called proof of work. What they're doing is they're solving these complex math equations, right? Trying to basically generate Bitcoins and verify transactions. That requires a high-end graphics card, which requires electricity to run, right? Now there are things called proof of stake and proof of reputation, where people are moving away from you need to use your computer in order to validate this by solving this math equation. And as a result, it's requiring less electricity in order to make that happen. There are other versions of establishing, your source of truth and confirming transactions that I'm not even aware of because I'm not as heavy in the space as I was 3 years ago. But to answer your question shortly, the space is evolving with other ways to validate transactions that have a lower impact on the environment.
Okay. So you're saying it will evolve. I mean, the fears may be somewhat unfounded, but because this is constantly changing, right? And they're thinking of new ways to kind of justify keeping blockchain valuable, but while at the same time, lessening the effect on the environment, which I think is a positive thing. So that's good to know.
That's a great thing really quickly about technology, right? It's open source, and B, it's technology, and technologists are going in there as technology does, with your company, you're figuring out ways to be more innovative in your market. People are saying, how can we make Bitcoin and blockchain more innovative? And one of those ways is to reduce the strain on the world, basically, the financial and economic strain or biological strain.
Yeah. And EFT that I follow is Kathy Wood, and she invests heavily in the blockchain and all these new environments, and she has a white paper, to your point, that does discuss about some of these things about proof of stake, and I've seen that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes into the future. So well, Marcus, man, look, I don't want to take too much of your time. Well, before we go, I think Ben, did you have something else you want to add real quick?
No. I just wanted to you did mention the esports thing. Your Marcus Esports Howard. You are. I want to congratulate you for always being ahead of the curve, cutting edge. Reading Fast Company magazine, whatever you're doing, you're staying out there in front of everybody else. So yeah, I think I was going where you were going, Theo, just with the, where's this what are you looking forward to, and maybe give us a tiny tidbit on what esports is coming into now.
Sure. Yeah, I think as the esports space evolves, one thing that is a well guarded secret is that most, like 95% of esports startups and teams don't make. Let me rephrase that. They're not profitable. They make money, but they spend a lot more money than they make. And so esports as a whole is figuring out how do you create new monetization strategies and offer monetization at scale. And that's one of the things I'm going to do an exclusive article for with Esports Bar is how blockchain, crypto, and NFT can bring a sustainable impact, positive impact to both the gaming and esports industry.
Well, thank you for that, Marcus. I appreciate it. Well, everyone, where can they follow you? Catch up with what you're doing in that space. What are some of your Twitter handles and all that great stuff?
I'm on Twitter at There Are Two of Me because I have an identical twin brother. And I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook at Marcus Esports Howard.
Well, Marcus, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. And we'll definitely catch up again soon. Take care, man.
All right. Thanks.
So that was a great conversation with Marcus Howard on the blockchain. So we're going to move right along. So I think there's a good time to kind of do a quick check-in on the streaming wars, Ben. So, we saw some news that went through this past week around Netflix password crackdown. Why is Netflix doing this right now? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, so for all of you who you had your auntie's credit card, and you got your Netflix account and your password, and now the whole neighborhood's got your password. That some of that might be coming to an end. By the way, for those of you who don't know, uh, these companies like Netflix, Amazon, all them, they know when you're sharing the password. So don't think you're fooling anybody. They've got computers that can look into your usage. They know what's going on.
Yeah, especially if you got, if you're watching, like all these sports documentaries, and then you're also watching, rom-coms, oh, that don't match. There's something there, with the algorithm. It's got to mess up the algorithm.
Yeah, I have a friend who she used to live way up in Northern California, and then she shared an account with a friend of hers, and they were roommates, and that made sense. Now that she's moved down here, though, uh, it was like just a year ago or something like that, where they actually sent her the notification like, okay, the jig's up. We know you're not, traveling back to Northern California, watching a TV show, then traveling back down to SoCal to, watch another episode of, Jessica Jones or something like that. So they're testing this. This password crackdown out in small numbers. They want to see how people react. They want to put the squeeze on them a little bit. My personal guess is that they're doing this to get more actual subscribers. They already have people using it, but actually get more credit cards pulled out and put into their system so they can get their numbers up, so they can get their money up before people really start to look into a lot of other options. Because I think we kind of jump on these streaming services and have to be on this and that pretty early, but the wave is still transferring even from cable. So I don't know. Do you know anybody who's not rocking with the streaming yet and still needs to get on?
No, my parents, they were kind of late adopters, but my dad was like, yeah, I'm watching, Paramount Plus now. Like, okay,
Oh,
wow. So like that's a new service, pops. So welcome. So I think it's kind of interesting. You're right. I think one of the announcements that came a couple weeks ago was Disney. They got to 100 plus subscribers in 16 months. Right now, obviously Disney's a great brand, and every parent I know has Disney Plus, and it makes sense now during a pandemic to have something for the kiddos to watch. But I think Netflix, you're right. I think they're feeling the pressure from not just Disney, of course, surpassing them in the number of subscribers. So I think they did some internal calculations. They said, okay, even if we have 20% password sharing, we can. I think they're like 250 or something like that million subscribers in U.S. alone. look, if we could just convert that to another 50 or so subscribers, that's 300, So Disney still has a long way to catch up to us, and we can still claim that number one spot. So, to your point, I think that's kind of their thinking too, as well. They're trying to figure out how they can maintain dominance and keep that brand. But I'll be honest with you, man. I don't know when's the last time I watched a Netflix show. I mean, I don't know what your viewing habits are, but I'm trying to think. Okay, so I do watch. I mean, maybe it's by show, but I do watch the majority of Hulu stuff because they always got like a lot of good movies and stuff there. HBO because obviously they're doing some interesting things with movies and TV shows. And Disney Plus. Those are kind of like the three ones I'm watching the most right now. I don't know if have you been watching anything on Netflix lately?
I've mentioned this before, man, but I am desperately trying to get rid of Netflix just so I have one less, icon to click on and to worry about. But they got me in there with a couple documentaries and some things I got to finish up right quick. But yeah, unless they have a compelling reason, a strong branded reason, that's what I mean. Like do you have a Star Trek? Do you have live sports? Do you have Falcon and Winter Soldier? Or do you have these things that I just have to watch? And for Netflix, for a lot of people, the answer is no. They just kind of have it.
No, that's a good point. I mean, Netflix obviously they came out the gate with House of Cards and then Orange is the New Black. They were kind of like culture changers, and people had to talk about them and discuss them. And then, of course, Stranger Things came out, right? And that was a thing that a lot of folks really wanted to jump in on. But those, and then I think they had some movies here and there, some rom coms that kind of, to dominate the pop culture. But it's kind of interesting, man. It's kind of Netflix is it's like a mixed bag. I mean, my wife watched the show, a movie the other day. It was okay, but it's nothing that's really driving the culture like it used to. And so, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think one thing they're kind of banking on is that they just, I think they led the Oscar nominations were announced earlier this week, and they had 35 nominations. The majority came from their Netflix movie Mank, which is David Fincher, the guy who wrote Seven and Gone Girl, all these, or directed all these different movies back in the day. And Mank was, basically, one of those Oscar bait type movies that Netflix was able to bring on board. So they got a lot of, good publicity around, Oscar nominations for their movies. And I think Chicago 7 was another one that they got some nominations for, which is on Netflix. But I mean, who watches Netflix for the movies per se? I mean, it's kind of like, it's more like the TV shows that drive a lot of their awareness. And I
Yeah,
don't think they don't have that brand recognition on a lot of great TV shows anymore.
yeah. And I do favor both of us are tech heads. We come from tech backgrounds, so I think that it's never safe to just write off anybody who's pioneered tech and is still the leader in the tech space, because whenever the tech changes, you have companies that can deal with it and companies that can't. So Netflix has been on streaming for a while, and I know you've got developers in there thinking, okay, what's next? How do we add new value to this? Um, how do we use this technological advantage that we have to our advantage? And that there's so many ideas that I have that Netflix could do. I mean, you know, if all of a sudden, you have a little NFT trophies or whatever that get given out to people as they're watching, they'll do something like that, and all these other companies are going to be like, oh my God, we're a television company. We don't know what the hell is going on. Netflix has outpaced us again.
Hmm.
It could be a lot. So we'll we'll,
So
we'll
don't count
see.
them out.
Oh
Don't count
God,
them
no.
out, basically.
Don't count them out. You can be like me and unsubscribe for a couple months, but don't count them out.
Yeah, because you remember that Black Mirror episode, Bandersnatch, right? That whole
Mm,
gaming experience, kind of like choose your own adventure book
yeah,
play format. I mean, that was revolutionary, right? They're pushing the envelope, and I thought that was genius. I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, sorry to jump in. I'm just really I was really excited about that when that happened because that was an example of the technology is technically there for everybody to use. Everybody understood it. People have tried doing choose your own adventures, but with Netflix, you have a marriage of we know the technology and we actually know what's entertaining and how to get it out to you. So when Bandersnatch actually came out, people were like, yeah, choose your own adventure, whatever. But then they tried it and they're like, oh, this is actually good and this is what it could be. I can't tell you how many projects died on the vine early on in project development because it wasn't realized and somebody didn't do it right. And with somebody like Netflix, yeah, man, they'll get in and do it right without a brand, without a lot of hype, and they'll just do it. So
Mhm.
I'm so glad you brought up Bandersnatch. I might watch that again.
Yeah, exactly. See what different paths you can take, right? I thought it was genius. I mean, obviously, if you watch Black Mirror, I thought the Black Mirror concept, some were better than the other, kind of like Twilight Zones. But I thought they was pretty good. And then when they did Bandersnatch, I thought it was like brilliant. But truth be told, you're right. They did this technology before in a children's episode. It was, I think it was Puss in Boots.
Boots
Was
and Boots,
that
yeah.
who? Yeah, from what's that? Man, I'm drawing a blank right now. The Green Org
Shrek.
from Shrek. Yeah, thank you, Shrek. Yeah. So they did that. They played around with the technology, and that was like several years before Bandersnatch, right? And I did it with my kids, and I thought it was kind of cool. And so it's kind of interesting. You're right; they have evolved it. And so, one of my predictions, here it is, third month of the year. I talked about like is Netflix thinking about some kind of Twitterverse, where Shonderland has come to Netflix, right? She created a hit, a massive hit. So that was a one TV show hit that they had. We didn't really talk about, but Bridgerton, right? It was kind of
Hmm.
a love romantic one. They made a star of this one guy, Renee. I can't remember his last name, but he was on SNL, did a great job there. But he is the thing now, and it became a thing because of Netflix, right? He had a TV show on Netflix. It was huge. Shonda Rhimes, the showrunner, created it. And now, Shonda Rhimes is a big thing on Netflix again. So I'm just curious, is she going to create some kind of Twitter universe like she did when she used to run all those TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and what was the one with Kerry Washington that everybody used to watch, Scandal. Remember, I don't know if you remember
Hmm.
Thursday nights, everybody was like, oh, I got to watch Scandal. And they would
Hmm.
Twitter about it and, tweet
Yeah.
about it all night. And so
And
I
How to Get
think
Away with
Netflix,
Murder. Yeah.
yeah, How to Get Away with Murder. I think Netflix can bring that back. Hopefully, you would think, right, into some kind of way. So that would be my thought for them. But
That's a great point. It is such a better Netflix. That is, Netflix is such a better space for creatives to try something. Um, you have props to Disney Plus for getting WandaVision out and letting the Marvel and the Star Wars guys try out things. But yeah, if you want to do some creative one-offs and get some really interesting shows happening, you try them out on Netflix, and it'll probably net you a good return. So
yeah, even the platform itself is better because I've tried different platforms like Paramount Plus and other ones, and it's like an Apple TV as well. And it's like when I try to fast forward, the fast forward doesn't work as well. But Netflix, that's always been a smooth experience. You get the little Netflix logo pop up immediately once you hit play. You can
yes,
now speed up some of the videos. So like if you part that you don't want to watch, you can speed that up and
yeah.
get through the boring parts of a movie or TV show. So to your point, the innovation that they have, hopefully that keeps people on. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting the battles to come when it comes to streaming wars because Netflix has got the crown, but it's shaky. It's shaky.
You know what, Theo? I may just buy into a year-long subscription just to support the creatives, man. I
No,
mean,
no, I thought you said you're going to drop it. What
I know
happened?
I know Netflix doesn't need the money, but I'm thinking of all my creative friends, and I'm like, man, I should support out of principle. But I don't know. Give me
Oh,
a week. Come back in a week in the next
okay,
podcast, and
okay.
we'll see if I drop Netflix or not. I don't
Oh,
know.
well, you want to see some trash. I mean, Amazon movies, man, there's some movies on there, man, that you and I could
Oh,
have made, dude. So, I mean,
holy
we're talking
crap!
about streaming wars, man. I mean, Amazon will buy anything, man. My wife and I go through that sometime. Like, who made this movie? So it's like, I mean, Amazon's got a hit, right? The Boys and some other stuff. But man, there's a lot of trash on that one, man. It's like, oh my goodness, what are they thinking here? But yeah, we should make a movie, man, and put it on Amazon. I bet we could.
They're decidedly not Hollywood. I mean, you know, uh, these other companies are coming from traditional Hollywood places. Netflix is a little farther out, but these guys with Amazon, they're just like coming out of Bezos' garage, like, hey, what's going on? I heard y'all had some movies. Well, here's $100.
So true story. I think probably uh, Amazon looks at movies and TV shows like a lost leader. Just have it out there to build awareness of the brand and have a good feeling toward it. Because there's some studies that show, if you're like a tech giant or you're like selling a product, if you can have a better what they call what they call performance score (NPS), if you have like a podcast or if you have some kind of content that you give people, so that means they have a better feeling for that product because you're creating an experience around that product, right? And so that's why you
Yeah,
see a lot of these direct to consumer products on Facebook, right? It's like oh, have a beard that you can shape up with this one image or this one device, or you can do manscaping of your man area, right, for your growing area. So it's kind of like all these direct to consumer products are trying to create brand experiences, and they're using podcasts and content to kind of create this Gary V world, right? Where you're just like, hey, I'm selling a T-shirt, but no, it's an experience, right? About wearing the T-shirt and the story about the microfibers in that T-shirt that no one even thought about. And so I think Amazon's doing the same thing with their TV shows. It's very funny.
yeah, it's I mean, and that's Amazon thing. I definitely don't count them out of the streaming wars because I get my Amazon Prime package, and you know, sometimes it'll have like the tape wrapped around it says, "Hey, now on Amazon Prime, watch this," and I'm like, "Look, man, I just ordered some slippers. I don't need to be told to watch a movie, but oh, Owen Wilson's in it. I'm in. So
Do you want some toilet paper with your boys TV show?
exactly. No, their advertising, it's getting a little more pervasive every single day. I have a I bought an Amazon Fire tablet just to uh just to watch media. So if I'm like walking around, I take it into the art studio and just play a little streaming here, whatever. It's my media tablet. Um, so I got that and was like, hey, Amazon Fire tablet, whatever, cheapest thing on the market. It'll be great. First thing it does is forces you to sign into Amazon. It's like, I'm sorry, you're signing into Amazon no matter what. You create an account if you have to. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Right when I did that, it loaded up ads. Uh, the little screensaver pops up, and it's like, hey, you can try to change your screensaver in the settings, but we're going to show you an ad anyway. And I found out to turn that off, you actually have to pay money to turn off the Amazon Fire tablet ads.
Oh my goodness. Oh geez.
I was
Yeah, they're
like,
getting it.
I was like, uh, no, I guess I'll sit through this, 2 second little screen that pops up that says "Watch the Boys" or whatever. But it
Yeah. It's,
it had crossed my mind to pay for that and get rid of it, but they don't need any more of my
oh,
money.
so true story this weekend. So I had my Amazon password and everything linked to a phone number that I no longer have, right? And so have you ever gone through that process to try to change that number that you had tied to your password in Amazon? It is hell in the cell, man. Let me just tell you
Huh.
that. So basically, if you try to log in, right, and and they said, okay, we want to do two-factor authentication, and we want to text you
Right,
a
right.
code. Well, that number I no longer had access to, and I said, no, I want to change this number, dude. It took me about an hour, man, and then I had to call customer service, and then when I finally got to the right person who could change it, you know how many questions they asked me before they would change it, dude? I mean, it was like, well, what's your address? Okay, here's my address. Okay, how long have you had Amazon Prime? Dude, I don't remember. Literally, I was screaming at him. I'm like, dude, I don't know. So what year? I was like, I had to look into my Amazon Prime and say, okay, I know my account, is charged once a year on March 2nd. And then,
Yeah.
well, what year did you start it? Like, dude, what
Huh.
year did you create it? And then, so I was
Yeah.
going back and forth with the customer service rep. So Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, man, look, man, yeah, that customer service sucks, dude. You gotta do a better way of doing better password protection. I get you want security, you want my zip code, you want my the blood of my firstborn, all that, but you gotta make that easier process because they were asking a question that I'm like, dude, there's no way possible I remember when I got Amazon Prime. So he
Yeah.
finally was like, okay, Mr. Harvey, okay, we'll change it for you. I'm like, dude, and it took me an hour and a half so I could finally get into my account to do different things with it. So anyway, so just FYI, man, it's Amazon is a lot box. Not as customer friendly as you think it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're they're on the game. I mean, if you call them, they'll pick up the phone quickly, but that doesn't mean you'll get through your problem very quickly. And this is what happens when companies move fast, man. They literally start dropping things behind. They're like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't pick up people who use this browser. Oh, we forgot about people who use Windows phones. That's totally going to f them up. Or so I've actually found a quick way around some of their problems. Install Amazon on multiple devices, and you can use authentication that way to make things faster.
Oh, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it's sad little way to get you into the fold more, but they were like, yeah, we have to verify that this Kindle purchase happened on, and I was like, oh wait, I have my iPad as well as my Kindle tablet here. Let me just authenticate over there, and they were like, okay, good. So
Okay, well, thank you for that. But yeah, like I said, they were able to change the number, after an hour of discussion with the,
mm,
customer service. But anyway, well, speaking of customer service, Disney Plus, man, do they provide good customer service? And what that means on Friday night, they finally premiered another TV show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? So is this another quality show like WandaVision? Where would we land at? I think WandaVision we were both kind of on the other side of the fence and saying, we appreciate the effort, appreciate what they were doing with it, but maybe didn't meet what they were trying to go for. And now Falcon and the Winter Soldier is here. What do we think?
um, yeah, as we said, we have different we have opinions on WandaVision. That was interesting to talk about, interesting to watch happen. Um, but it wasn't like something we were geeked over. But now Falcon and Winter Soldier, uh, it's just you know hero show that came out. Uh, so I guess we can turn spoilers on now. There really aren't any spoilers in the show. Nothing. Nobody pops out of the bushes like yeah, you didn't know I was coming, did you? Nothing happens like that.
Slight spoiler at the end. Slight spoiler. Right at the
Uh,
very end.
okay, yeah. But yeah, they're just. I don't know if they intentionally wanted a slow burn with this one too, but they're just like, hey guys, we're gonna take our time and set up the story. And I'm not I'm not putting it on this level, but when I watched this story unfold, I was like, wow, this is almost as basic an opening story as Iron Fist was. And I was just like, it's so basic. I'm just waiting on a twist or something. And I'm like, if you're going to be that basic, be strong in some other way, where you're really tense action, really cool something about it. But extremely basic story, man. You got two guys just doing their thing.
Yeah. It's basic when they're visiting a bank to try to get a loan, right? I mean, that's just basic storytelling. The plot hinges on if they can get this loan, if the bank officer recognizes one of the characters as a celebrity, right? You're like, oh wow, this is some drama right here, right? So
Yeah.
no, I get it. I mean, they're trying to go for a basic level. So yeah, let's get into some of the spoilers. I mean, so I think we introduced to Falcon first, played by Anthony Mackie. Great, character was okay. I wouldn't say he was a great character. I mean, it was kind of functional character in all the Marvel movies. He was kind of there. I mean, for lack of a better term, it was the black sidekick, right?
Hmm.
To Captain America, which is fine, and he was kind of there to say, Cap, look there, or Cap, I got you now. Or I'll help you, Cap, So he didn't really have a storyline of his own, so, which is okay. So hopefully they're going to flesh his character out. And so, I think there was a scene, so they got into the story, very good action at the beginning, right? I think, I think that's what we came to see, right? Some good
Hmm.
action. So I thought that was great. The whole, chase in the air. I mean, they had to spend, a couple million on that one, man. I mean, they had the guys with the parachute arms, they would fly through the air and they
Yeah.
went to different helicopters. I thought that was kind of cool. I never saw that before, so that was kind of cool. Anthony Mackie's CGI character was there in the mix, but really the guys that were flying, I was like, that had to be stunt guys because that was like too real. But other than that, man, I thought it was functional. But then I think the scene that I want to kind of cover real quick. They're trying to get to something bigger. Hopefully, I thought when they had War Machine played by Don Cheadle and Anthony Mackie together, and they're kind of reminiscing on the legacy of Captain America now that he was gone. So two black sidekicks, right, together in a room together. And the most we got out of that was like,
Talking about the white main hero. So
exactly.
yeah.
What that, I forgot what that term is, but when two women in a room talking about a woman, I mean they're talking about a man. They never talk about stuff
The
that
Bechtel
affected women.
test. The Bechtel
Yeah, the
test.
Bechdel test, right? Is there a Bechdel test for black people? I'm just curious.
I don't know. We should make that up. The Javel test. The Jaquan test.
The Black Panther test.
Yeah.
When two black people in the room, they don't talk about a white person, right? So anyway, so basically, and the most they could wring out of that scene was like, well, keep it up, brother. And it was like, dude, that was a good chance to think about the legacy and what that means to be, American. And I guess maybe they filmed this right before maybe 2020 when we had a lot of upheaval and stuff, which that I would guess that they would change that scene a lot more, right? If they filmed it after 2020, right? What happened with a lot of things with George Floyd and some of the protests that went on during the summer. So, but I thought there was something there they could have done more with, right? But I mean, so to your point, his introduction again, pretty functional. I don't see anything that was different about it, unless you thought there was some interesting tidbits from his story.
No. It wasn't anything. And don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad like Iron Fist bad. But it was just extremely basic in its presentation. There was nothing terribly interesting about the character's portrayal. There was nothing particularly interesting about his story right off the bat. I don't know where this is going. It's only one episode, but we got 40 something minutes, I think, of a story, and at the end of it, I was like, okay, Anthony Mackie's like a skinny Bubba Shrimp dude, you know. All right, cool.
It's been 20 minutes talking about a boat, man, a shipping boat. I'm like, let's just
Yeah. So I
bubble
mean,
gum.
yeah. So for those of you, who aren't into writing and everything, when you have side characters, they're automatically overshadowed by their main characters, and that makes sense because the main character is supposed to be the main characters. Now, in order for them to step out of the shadow of a character, you need to have a defining moment that individually creates that character as a separate entity from the other guy, whatever that is, however you do it. I'm struggling to think of an example, but when someone looks at it, a show, you don't want to say, "Oh, you mean the black guy who's flying but not as good as Iron Man? Oh, you mean the black American guy who's not as American as Captain America?" You know, you need something in your head, a little phrase that says Falcon is this guy. Maybe he could have been the guy who just kills people for you know in the line of duty. It's like, hey man, I didn't want to disable him or shoot for the knees. You had to kill the guy. I mean, that could just be a point of contention, a thing to say. Wow, yeah, Falcon's that dude. He'll kill a motherfucker. But
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't seem like Anthony Mackie's going to be the character to play that kind of role. So we'll see. What do you think they could do with this character?
No, that's a good point. I mean, he can play it. I mean, I don't know if you watched Altered Carbon. He played kind of killer in that. It was kind of weird TV show on Netflix where basically people can come back to life and be in different human bodies and they live forever. So he played kind of like killer in that, and he was pretty good
Okay.
in that. And so I think, and I think Anthony Mackie as an actor, he's just very charismatic, right? I think he can bring more to that role than they're giving to him. But you hit the nail on the head. I agree 100%. And when you think about this character, Falcon, there's nothing there. I mean, it's kind of, sad, but they don't really have a defining point of contention around. We don't know why he, stopped being a Falconeer. He just showed up in Captain America and said, I never said I was a pilot, kind of thing. And he just kind of showed up with wings.
Mm.
He didn't really define like why he didn't want to do it before. Why is he doing it now? What's his motivation? Yes, I want to help and be an American. I think he was an injured veteran, but it was never really kind of clear. Now, juxtapose that with the Winter Soldier, which is a far more compelling character. I mean, because let's be honest, he was introduced in my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I had to go. I watched it with my family. They have tons of questions, and so we went to go watch those Legends on Disney Plus
Yeah,
that introduced all the different characters. So I showed them Falcon and the Winter Soldiers, Legends, and we saw his. And then you remember he was introduced as like the kind of like the cooler best friend of Captain America, Steve Rogers, before he became Captain America, and he had an awesome arc, right? He died, came back, was a Hydra agent, and literally the crux of Civil War, was based on him. So everything was kind of revolved around him, and then now his story of redemption, kind of rang true to me, right? When they kind
yeah,
of covered that in this TV show. So to me, I think that's a better character, right? Now granted, I don't know the actor, Sebastian Stan, I think that's his name. Is he as charismatic as Anthony Mackie? But it's a lot more there on the bones for that character.
yeah. And right off the bat, it's you say he's a compelling character. I immediately kind of fell in love with the whole therapy thing. Let me sit down in this office and getting upset that I have to go over my history. And once again, that is a basic storyline, but it is basic and compelling in this case. Um, I watched it and I was like, okay, he's got a list of people he needs to scratch off, or that he's being nice to, or whatever. You could tell that he's trying to play nicer than he really is, but obviously he's not like Winter Soldier kind of evil, crazy, out of control. But there's that whole story that you're playing out in your head, like where's this going to go? Um, and especially they humanized him a little bit, not a little bit, they humanized him a great bit in the end when they showed the not his neighbor, but the guy from the Chinese restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I agree, 100%. I mean, I think he, like you said, and there was a nice little twist on that, right? He's befriending this older guy. You think it's because and technically he's kind of like Captain America. He's 100 and some years old, 106 years old, right? Because he was frozen in ice, brought back to kill people, and went back into the ice, right, over the years. But so you thought he just befriended him just to befriend him, but there's a reason why, right? Because of what he's done in his past. And I thought that was kind of a interesting take on it. And he's trying to make amends and try to be a better person. So right off the bat, I mean, it's sad to say, but his character art was way more compelling than the Falcons. And so obviously, I think the charisma of Anthony Mackie as an actor, compared with the compellingness of the Winter Soldier, I think would make it a better show. But it's just like they got to find. And so, spoiler alert, they make a big twist at the end that, quote unquote, Captain America's back, right? Now who's playing that? Literally after the show, we watched it. My mother-in-law, my wife were like, "Who's that? Who's that? Theo, you know who that is?" I have no idea who that is. They said, "You know who that is? Come on, tell us." I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, yeah, it could be the guy they fought at the beginning, but I don't know who that is. So why are you asking me?"
yeah,
So,
there could be a lot of ways that character could go. What I mean by the fake Captain America, there was, if you
fake cap.
remember, yeah, exactly, exactly, no cap. Um,
No cap. The no cap. That's what we're gonna
uh,
call
if you
him.
no, if you go check out, if you go back to like Winter Soldier, you remember um, and they alluded to this in Agent Carter even. They were trying to replicate the program, and it never really worked out. That one time after Steve Rogers did his thing and got juiced up, there was the whole gunfight and battle, and people lost the plans.
Mhm.
Labs were exploded, so a lot of that information and stuff got lost. We saw Zemo in the movie Winter Soldier. He goes back and gets rid of all the other soldiers. So this program pretty much only exists with Winter Soldier and Steve Rogers, and that was the end of it. But in the comics, there are a few other splinters of people that maybe were weren't as popularized. They were hidden off the books. They were shadow projects. So there are at least five other characters that this could, be referencing, or it may just be something completely new. But that's actually a slightly interesting way to go with, Anthony Mackie and the Falcon character. What can they do with that?
I don't think it is nothing new, man. I mean, they're miming what 40, 50 years of comic books to figure these stories out. I
Yeah.
mean, literally, we watched what 20 movies, two TV shows. Has there been anything new that they said anything new that you haven't seen before in some capacity? If you've not read in a comic book or perceived it or whatever, because everything I've seen is I'm trying to think, has there been anything that's been totally interesting or new that we've never seen in a comic book?
The Well, I think the only thing new that they've done is the the way they've presented a story. They're like, oh, well, in this story in the comic books, it came from uh, the Stark Foundation, but we're just going to make it come from AIM or something like that.
Mm.
They'll change up where stuff comes from. Switch the names and the places around a little bit. But no, you are totally correct. Feige's not doing anything new. He's just going through stories that have worked, and he's got a backlog of uh, tens of thousands of comics and stories.
Stories that the writers have wrote and tried out, and he's going through the back catalog. Oh, rip this out. Yep, we'll take this one.
Yeah.
This one. Nope, nope,
Oh,
no, want that storyline.
you once told me about the thing about Marvel Comics is don't get mad at the storyline. Don't get mad at the storyline because if people don't like it, they'll change it next week.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, they'll try it out. If it's bad, they'll try something new, and
Oh
the comics
man.
will figure out what's good and what's not.
Oh, they had some trash Spider-Man. Remember the Clone Saga? I mean, they replaced Spider-Man with his clone. Oh man, what was his clone's name? It'll come to me later. But that was a mess. And then I think there was a part where he the devil, the version of the devil in Spider-Man, he came back and you know broke up Mary Jane, and it was all kinds of craziness they tried, and it never worked. So, but that's what comic books are for, man. It's kind of like incubator for bad ideas, right? And
Farm
sometimes
league.
the ideas, yeah, some ideas are great, man. So it's so like you said, I mean, they have so many storylines that they can go into. I just don't. I wish they had and the sad part, I don't even think there is a Falcon definitive story. So this is a good chance to kind of redefine them. Now, Bucky Barnes or and the Winter Soldier, there's tons of great stories, and so I think that's probably why he's a better character. But I don't think the Falcon has any great storylines. I mean, I'm sure there are. I just need to do more research on it. But I would love to kind of see some great storyline come out of this for him because I think that character has potential, but I don't know. It's going to be tough to kind of drag it out. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, like I said, Anthony Mackie's a great actor, and hopefully he can bring something to it that's interesting and insightful. So I think you and I are both on board, right, Ben, going forward. And what do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely on board. If you comic nerds want to look something up, check out U.S. Agent and the and the Super Serum program. There's a ton of different stories out there to keep your conspiracy theory mind running while the show plays out. So we'll
I
see.
love
And
it.
yeah, I definitely want to know what the connection is with Don Cheadle and the Armor Wars coming out. So yeah, I'm totally in for it. Simple, basic show, but stuff exploded and there were flying scenes. So I was in for it.
Yeah. It's going to be give it our action fix. So I'm excited. I'm ready. I mean, why is it taking so long to get together, man? I hope we're not going to wait to episode 3 and they finally get together. So it's just like, dude, let's get to the buddy cop comedy, right? Quick. I don't want to wait. So I'm there for it. So anyway, man, Ben. Well, hey, what are you excited about for next week? Anything interesting new?
Nothing interesting. Wow, nothing new that's kind of sitting on my radar to watch or do. I know we've got. I need to sit down and watch Zack Snyder's Justice League again. I'm going to break out some red wine and try to hold back my tears. That's how beautiful it is. You know.
For those that don't see, I'm holding up a glass right now. Yes, I too am watching Justice League probably again. I watched it the first night with some wine. So for those that don't know, we're gonna have a bonus podcast this week. Yes, 2 times the show versus business. We're gonna bring on Mr. Pete, and he is the one that is a Justice League DC, aficionado. And we're going to bring him on to our podcast, and we're going to have an exclusive podcast where all we talk about is Justice League, the Snyder Cut. So I think there's a lot to unpack there. So to your point, I'll probably have to watch it again. So we'll cover it, on our next podcast. But it's definitely something we're excited to discuss, and hopefully you guys will find that enjoyable as well. But no, that's it, man. I don't have anything else as well, but probably next week we'll probably cover more of the same. There's always something going on in pop culture. Again, everyone, if you want to listen to us, follow us on Twitter, on Facebook. We also have a YouTube page, right? Show versus Business. So go check us out there as well. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Probably have a Facebook group out here shortly, but we definitely want to keep this going strong. So with that being said, Ben, there's nothing else. Have a good one.
You too, my man. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture. Please subscribe to this podcast at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Please like and subscribe to our Instagram page, Show versus Business, to get exclusive behind-the-scenes takes and upcoming episodes. Talk to you next time.
Finish him!